But again, that's what I do like about the claw. There's always that just sort of instant comeback potential. From something that looks like it really shouldn't. Probably not a good idea to trade with that weapon. And then suddenly the claw. Alright, he tried to parry it. That's good. Let's see if he can, like, if he thinks he can parry it again. Do it. Or did he figure out he can't parry it? Do it. Try and parry it. Try and parry it. Oh, come on. Try and parry it. I think he knows I'm baiting him. Alright. We're not doing that anymore. And suddenly... No. Got him. I knew he tried to delay or parry or something there. When people get, like, basically, pathologically passive is not the right term there, but very predictably passive, it's risky because in theory they could suddenly switch it up, but that guy just became so, yeah, again, consistently passive that I was at that point willing to risk it. It's like, yeah, if I walk in, he'll just... Like, I don't think it's region sorted. Or maybe it is. Actually, on the PC. I'm not sure. Does anyone know? Did they region sort for PC? I guess they might do it based on your Steam location or something like that. Interesting. That goes through walls. Oh, shit. I was hoping I'd voice through that. That is. There we go. What curved sword is that? That is the wolf something sword. I'll check in a sec. I can never remember the actual name. The claws are called the crow claws, I think. Alright, so just a bit of an explanation as to what you guys saw there, the build and all that stuff. Let's go through the basics here. We have the old wolf curved sword and the sharp talons in the main hand. I'd swap between them with the War God wooden shield in the offhand. Now keep in mind, I don't have the sharp crow talons in the offhand because you put it in the offhand and you can't use the weapon mark for the either thing, and you just get a parry animation. So that's why that's there. In terms of armor, we'll look at the Millwood Knight Helm, Fallen Knight Armor, Gauntlet of Thorns, and Knight Leggings. It just kind of works with the stats I have, and I was looking for a general aesthetic. I mean, the main part of it is the helm and the chest plate. I think it kind of goes well. And War God's shield, just because it's what I have that allows you to weapon heart with the shield up, and it kind of has this sort of wilderness warrior type thing going for it. And there's a reason for that, which I'll explain again in a minute. I'm just going to go over the current build right now, and sort of also talk about its flaws and inefficiencies, because I'm just using a whatever Clorathia ring. It doesn't matter too much. I guess I could swap that out for where is it? The Pontiff Eye, yeah, Pontiff Right Eye, I guess. And oh, that puts me over. Never mind. So yeah, part of the problem here is I'm using a Knight's Ring just to use this sword because you need 19 strength to use it, and I had 14. I could just level a few more times and do it, but for now we're sitting on that thing. Havel's Ring, Ring of Favor, just so we can wear some heavier stuff, because I put basically nothing into vitality. I guess I put a little bit into vitality just so I could use kind of like, again, it's maybe not the most efficient thing in the world, but I wanted to look a certain way. So yeah, that's what we're looking at here with the stats. Of course, you can see them on the right-hand side. 46 vigor, 25 endurance. So I did put a little bit in vitality. I think I put 5 points into vitality. My starting class was knight, so that's what we're working with there. As you can see, I didn't put any points into strength, but I have 5 extra from the knight ring, so I can use this sword. 50 dex, nothing anything else. So actually the reason this build kind of looks like this is I was testing out a whole bunch of different things. I'm actually I tested so many builds that I'm out of respec, so I can't actually respec this character on this playthrough anymore. Because originally what this build was a pure claw build. So all I would use is this, and it was just purely a gimmick of landing that. You probably guys saw that flurry attack thing, right? That thing? I just wanted to land that over and over again, or not even over and over again, because one shot would kill. So what I would use is the old wolf curved sword plus it would be a pure buff stick, so then I wouldn't need the knight's ring. And then I would equip double pontiff eyes, like so. And basically the old wolf curved sword has this description on it, where this sword, like a wolf on the prowl, boosts attack and restores HP with each consecutive hit. So basically it's a built-in double pontiff eye ring. So pontiff right eye and left eye are both built into the sword, because they both do those things individually. So what would happen is these all count as essentially individual attacks, except for the except with bleeding. That's weird. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so you just jump on people, and unless the person was wearing super heavy armor, it would typically be enough to kill them. Yeah, the only person who I ever saw really survive that attack with this build that you're seeing right now, in terms of this setup, was a guy that was like in full Havels or something and then hopped around with the quick step axe. So he didn't have to roll, he would quick step everywhere. Anyway, so he was just like really tanky. And there might have been some other guy in heavy armor, but that was kind of it. Aside from that, I have also tested a bleed luck build with this, and yeah, it was a bleed luck build was mainly the thing I was messing around with. And that ended up just being kind of redundant, because for the most part, this attack here, when the build was built around this, would one-shot people with the with this combo, regardless of the bleed. And the thing is, I guess From Software knew this might be kind of stupid if you got tons of bleed procs off on this, because you'll hit a guy like 6 or 7 times in that combo there. And with a luck bleed build, if you use a Carthus Rouge, roughly all you need is 3 hits to get a bleed off. So that would have been normally a bleed proc on a single combo like this, or rather, at least 2 bleed procs in a combo like that. But you only get 1, meaning the damage actually more or less evens out if you have this thing scale purely with dex and just put, I don't know, any kind of regular, elemental damage buff on it. So I just found it was redundant, a bit too gimmicky, because it would work crappier under normal circumstances. So yeah, I moved away from that. Plus, if you go bleed build, you're really stuck in a bleed build. You can't do too many other things. Whereas a dex build, I have a few more options. I can do some more fun things. So I went away from that. Aside from that, as you see, well, let's actually get my regular build back here. So, here is that sword. Okay, we're going to equip this, re-equip the right rings. So again, yeah, if you want to do this, build it from the ground up, you can most certainly build this, more efficiently in terms of the exact stats you need and all that kind of stuff. But we're just going to run with this. Oh, and of course, the whole claw, I was kind of doing, like this wilderness warrior sort of, kind of a ramshackle looking sort of build here. So that's why we're running that, because originally it was supposed to go with purely claw, but it still kind of works with the old wolf curved sword. So yeah, the idea behind it right now, as it exists, is basically I've always really liked the curved great swords. I can technically two-hand it, although there's very little point because it's scaling off dex, so I don't get that 1.5, well, I mean, I get technically 1.5 strength bonus, but it's really crappy, so it's barely worth it at all to two-hand it, unless you want like a slightly different moveset. So I usually just keep the shield up. This is not great for walking or blocking, but just the fact that you have it up tends to throw people off a little bit. They're just sort of less likely to attack you, and you can block. I mean, it is technically still 84% physical block. So I mean, you still take damage, but whatever. It's kind of an emergency block thing if you need it. Really fond of the roll attack on this, and the one-handed dash attack. They're, I mean, for big weapons, they're relatively fast. Now, obviously not, you know, curved sword or, you know, straight sword or, you know, rapier class damage, but, you know, I find just, I don't know, these weapons more amusing, so I like using them. The weapon art is actually surprisingly nice. I actually just tested this shortly before, like, actually, you know, using this weapon for the first time ever. It's like, actually, this is kind of neat. Because you'll jump backwards. You'll commit to, like, it's got a relatively fast initial attack, a fairly substantial, you know, powerful second attack, and then you leap backwards to safety. And you can do kind of weird things where you run around, get in people, and then, like, turn the camera, and then you just kind of flip around all over the place. It's a bit difficult to control when you're just moving around free camera, but it's a nice little addition there. And of course, as you guys saw from the previous thing, a lot of the time I'll just be kind of fighting with this, and then suddenly out of the nowhere, and then I just claw attack. And it did seem to catch people off here and there, where just kind of there was a weapon swap. And because it's not spec'd around it specifically, this combo, claw combo, will not one-shot people. It'll do a lot, unless they're like super fragile, then it'll one-shot them. But generally speaking, it'll deal a lot of damage, typically in the, you know, roughly around the 800-ish range if I get most of the combo off. But yeah, and aside from that, it's also a fast weapon, so I can kind of dash at people and get that attack off. And the roll R1 is really fast. Unlike the two-handed version of the claw, I really don't like the roll attacks. Because this is, I mean, it does a weird thing and it can catch some people off, but it's just not, it's more of a niche attack. It's a less consistent one. So I'm very, very not fond of the rolling R1. Because you do this automatic C, you do a double roll like that, so it's just generally not fast. I prefer just, you know, getting off the quick damage like that. It tends to catch people off guard better. And the rolling, by the way, the rolling L1 on the double or the two-handed claws is really slow, and I dislike that heavily. It's just like, you see how he reaches back like that for no reason and then stabs forward? In that interval, you just always get hit if people are using, you know, a weapon that's even remote, had any kind of speed on it at all, which is basically everyone. Also, as a pure gimmick, I'd like to show you this attack. This is the leaping L1. It is quite possibly the worst attack of the game. But, you just don't use it. It's sort of funny more than anything. And of course, to use the weapon art, you don't have to two-hand it. You can just like kind of do that. You can have the shield up. So again, that's part of the reason we have the shield here, so I can use the weapon skill while still using a shield. Alternatively, I actually had where is it? I was using the stone Parma when I was doing a version of this build that used just this sword, because it just has high stability and I kind of walk at people and then do that. Or, you know, I'd walk at people and then just, what I would do, I'd walk at people and then just like do that kind of thing. So actually, you might, I guess in a sense, it's a combination of these two separate builds I did that ended up becoming this thing. And again, I just kind of find it amusing, the ability to sort of swap weapons mid-battle and just kind of keep people always on their toes, because I do technically have sort of 3 different modes of attack between, well, really, I guess 4. I pretty much never two-hand the claws. If I am, you know, if I'm swapping between 2 weapons, I'll just, you know, because generally speaking, the only reason I'll use the claw is for a really quick attack to just kind of get someone who's really low down. Because generally speaking, in terms of the regular attacks, the claws are very bad. They're, aside from a couple specific attacks like that, they're pretty slow compared to other fast weapons. The range is bad, the damage is bad. It's really just kind of, yeah, oops, I'm not even using the right weapon. Or shield. It's really just, yeah, the raptor, whatever, claw spam gimmick, plus the ability for have a couple of very fast attacks. For the most part, the workhorse, the consistent thing in this build is this sword. It's the wolf knight, or not the wolf, the old wolf curved sword. And as I said, that's a personal preference thing. I've always really liked the curved great swords. When I was actually leveling this build, for the longest time, I was using the what is it called? The XL greatsword. So I actually had a refined build going with that for, you know, my regular playthrough. Incidentally, there are a number of other small items, yes, you could put on this character to sort of optimize things better. This is actually just my DLC playthrough character, so I made him specifically play through the DLC, and he doesn't have a lot of stuff that you could get. So, for example, you know, if you wanted to swap out rings, as I said, you know, the Pontify, or maybe like to make it even more gimmicky, you can put the obscuring ring on, the one that makes you invis when you roll. There's probably a number of different armors that you could you know, optimize this more with instead of going for a pure theme, sort of like I did. Yeah, there's probably a better shield, to be honest. You know, it's pretty whatever. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'm off to go stream. Incidentally, kind of fits into the theme of the helmet. Today is learn how to play Olaf Day on League of Legends. See you around.